Hello and welcome to the District 92 channel. I am 𝗧𝗹𝗮, District Public Relations Manager, and today we have with us a very special guest who needs no introduction, Vinod Krishna. Thank you so much, Vinod, for joining us in today's session.
Thank you, 𝗧𝗹𝗮. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So, before we go ahead with the questions and a round of interview, I hope most of you really want to know about Vinod's journey. So, Vinod Krishna is a leadership storytelling expert with 30+ years of experience in storytelling and leadership experience at WebEx, Motorola and Cisco. As the founder of Storytelling at Work, he has dedicated his career to helping organizations transform the way people think, lead and communicate. Vinod's work bridges psychology, leadership and narrative craft, making him a powerful voice on the human edge in the AI era. We are excited to have him with us in District 92. Starting with my first question, which is more on your leadership journey. Vinod, with over 3 decades of leadership experience across global companies like WebEx, Motorola and Cisco, what leadership lesson has stayed constant with you despite the changing times?
One of the key lessons that I have picked up from my early days in the journey is to, as leaders, it's important to sort of set the path or find a path. Most times when you look at what leadership is all about, it's about setting a vision. Now, what's a vision? A vision is something which is not a reality yet, but you're setting a direction to move towards something. And it's not just you moving towards something. You need to make sure that your people also come along. They understand where we are going, or at least partly where we are going. They are excited, they are aligned, and they're contributing towards that goal. And I think that is what is leadership. And for me, I think I go back to what we are very good at as humans. One of the innate characteristics of all humans is the exploratory nature. We're curious. You look at a child, it's curious to find out what's around. It tries to pick a new object. The same way as adults, we're very curious to know what is ahead of us. What does the world offer? Now with AI coming in, everybody is curious. What does it do? Will my job stay? Will my business get impacted? What will happen to customers? What will happen to our lifestyles? Okay, so I think as leaders, one of the key things that I have looked at is how do you sort of set the path? How do you lead? When you have to take a step, you don't know what's going to happen next, but can you figure out what to do next? I think that's the most important lesson which I have seen all through, and it sort of is a running thread throughout my journey.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, few key takeaways from what you said is being curious, having that curious child sort of an attitude is really important for being a leader, and you need to know what you're going to do next. I think it's very important for you to have a vision towards what you want to do next. So even though the times are changing, it really doesn't impact you. Thank you so much. Really amazing words. My next question to you is more to do with the storytelling narrative. So as someone who has helped leaders discover their own narrative, what do you believe is the biggest storytelling mistake leaders make, and how would you correct it?
All right. Yes, that's a very wonderful question and a very relevant question. One of the biggest gaps I have seen throughout my career, the leadership gap that I have seen, is that a lot of leaders are not congruent. They are not congruent in terms of what's happening inside them and how they are projecting their leadership, or how they're leading people, or how they're communicating outside. So if I have to get align my people towards a goal, a project, some achievement that needs to be done, or a problem to be solved, I am being very superficial. Leading is about being congruent in the first place.
Right.
Authenticity is very critical out there. So how do I build authenticity for myself? The most important factor is to sort of understand what is my inner narrative. What narratives drive me, and how do I sort of use that to drive the project or people and align people towards the common goal? I think that is a gap which I see always, and no wonder that when this gap exists, there is always that it results in a lack of trust. because people don't trust me if I'm not congruent in what I'm speaking.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think wise words were never said, as you said. I mean, when it comes to leadership, I think one of the things that I see in you as well is a lot of clarity in your thoughts. And as a leader, if we are not clear of our goals and missions, we cannot really inspire and persuade others
Yes.
too. So the internal narrative really matters, and for most of the leaders who are making this mistake, please listen to what Vinod just said. The next question is more to do with the human connection when it comes to storytelling. So what do you believe why do you believe storytelling is one of the most powerful tools for influences inside the organization?
All right. So a lot of the storytelling, people hear about is about the fundamental definition they have of storytelling itself is tell a story. Now, if you go into a business scenario, let's say I'm interacting with my customer, I cannot break out into a Panchatantra story. It is not entertainment, or it is not, I know I have to influence them, or I have to make sure that they understand what I'm presenting, or what strategies that we have for them, or what solutions we are bringing to the table. But I cannot use a story directly like the way I'm going to use a story in other contexts. Here I have to bring in storytelling principles to play. And that is the most important thing. I can use stories. I can use the story of another customer project that we have worked on, or another situation that we have actually addressed. And I can even bring the story of our strategy, of our vision, of our product roadmap. Plenty of stories that can actually come from within the organization itself. It can also be from personal experiences of how, 20 years ago in my career, when I was, trying to work on building this product, this is what we actually adopted. This practice is what we adopted, and the same practice is being adopted today. So I could build a lot of credibility through that. So storytelling, how can it be used within organizations? I think the fundamental thing is to sort of bring story thinking into play. The story thinking, when I say story thinking, how do you understand what stories are happening? One is the stories happening inside me. Now, if I'm having an audience, or it could be my team, it could be customers, it could be any stakeholder, what story is running out there? What narratives are driving the people outside? I think if I do not recognize that, if I do not understand what is going on out there, I am going to live in a fantasy world of communicating on my own, trying to lead people, and I'm not going to get traction, towards whatever I'm trying to convey to them.
Okay, fantastic. I think one of the key things that I learned from this conversation is when it comes to business storytelling, it is very different from explaining the aspects of storytelling. Sometimes the audience also matters. Who is sitting in front of you? What really matters to them? And whatever message you're sharing through your story, does it really connect to them? So that's where I think the business storytelling and that mindset really matters. Thank you so much, Vinod, for those inspiring and wonderful words. My next question to you is, I know that you have helped organizations use storytelling to shape how people think, lead, and communicate. Could you share a memorable instance where storytelling created a major shift in the mindsets of people?
Oh yes. We were working with a large global organization, and there were senior leaders who we were running a program for. We had designed a leadership program which is again all storytelling based. And when I say storytelling based, it's not about telling a story and driving a message. It is about bringing storytelling principles to play and designing the workshop on the program in such a way that storytelling principles are incorporated inside. The whole intervention is designed that way. Now, one of the key things they had, the problems they had was, these leaders are experienced, domain experts, and the only gap they had was they had core values in the organization. They wanted to sort of translate that. One of the simplest things which we all see in organizations is, what are the values of the organization? Many of the leaders know what the values of the organization are. And if you ask employees also, the team members also, they say it, they mouth it, but do they really understand what it means? How do you translate those values? Now, this is where we brought in a whole module in translating values, organizational values, to the entire workforce. So now how do you bring storytelling to play to sort of drive home the message of their core values? Otherwise, till then it was, pasted out there. It was at different, displayed at different places within the organization. And yeah, it was a bunch of words. Now, what does it mean? How do you live those values on a daily basis? How do people take decisions? When they understand what those values are, they're able to abide by it, or they're able to use that as a guiding force. If they don't understand, they're going to, and there is always a set of personal values and organizational values. If they don't understand that, they're going to go with their personal values. They think this is what is right, and this is what is probably the best of my knowledge. I'm trying to do this. And there arises a lot of conflicts, there arises a lot of issues, and this organization had a lot of delivery issues when it came to customers, performance issues. Now they were able to sort of bring about a shift in the leaders' understanding and the mindset about what the values are and how they can actually translate that to help the workforce understand what those values are. And so I think that shift was a very significant shift for the leaders especially.
Incredible with the way you mentioned. I think understanding the core values at a leadership level, at a strategic level, all of us know why it's important. But at a ground level, when you have people working, executing the tasks, they're not really aware of the values.
Yes.
And as you said, I totally resonate with what you said. We have it at the back of our minds that these are the core values our organization abides by, but when it comes to our day-to-day actions, do we display that?
Yeah.
And that can only be done when leaders speak the language of core values through the storytelling. Amazing. Thank you so much, Vinod. I would like to know, what are your thoughts about 𝗏𝟐 as an organization? Because we are an organization that helps build leaders for the future.
Right.
We believe that leadership is not something you're born with, you learn it. It's a skill. So what is your message to our members of District 92, and where do you see 𝗏𝟐 as an organization fulfilling this role of storytelling and leadership?
Yeah, so I think I have known 𝗏𝟐 in the past. I have come across 𝗏𝟐. 𝗏𝟐 is not new to me, is what I would say. I have attended some of those sessions within those clubs, and I have sat in the audience. I have tried to play a couple of roles, and I have picked up the topic of the day, and I have also done some impromptu speaking and things like that in the past. I've done a bit of that. I've not been a regular, I've not been a member as such, so of any club, but I know how critical it is and what really is the role it plays when it comes to shaping leaders, especially a lot of leaders, their performance is dependent on how they communicate, how they're able to put themselves in front of an audience and able to sort of convey and even stand in front of a group of people and present their ideas. I think 𝗏𝟐 is bringing about or providing that safe space of a community of people who are extremely supportive of each other and encouraging of each other, and sort of it's a group learning opportunity for people. I understand that. Now, when it comes to the kind of vision and the kind of approach that 𝗏𝟐 District 92, I've just now attended the 2-day conference out here. I've been part of this, and what I see here is today I think there was one moment when it's a great moment out there when all of the volunteers were called on stage, and when you just look at the event and there are people coming on stage and going off stage and things are happening, you don't realize the number of leaders who are actually required to run something like this, to pull off an event like this. And everyone out there was a leader. And it is not just on stage, off stage also. So if I'm just walking around, I see people, willing to sort of make eye contact, smile, come and shake hands and introduce themselves. How often does it happen outside of 𝗏𝟐? That's the question I had in my mind. It usually people do not even, they're unwilling to make eye contact and smile and nod at least. I think that is a very significant shift which I could see, which I think 𝗏𝟐 is enabling. And I think the future, when you look at how technology is sort of having making those dents in the way we work, in the way we live life, in the way we are operating today in the world. It's already making a shift. It's already bringing or forcing a shift, I should say. I think what is going to remain, or what's really going to remain with humans, is the ability to connect with people, ability to lead. And I think Toastmasters is going to play a very highly significant role in that journey as the whole world transitions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Vinod, for those inspiring words. And again, a message from Vinod to the District 92, to all our District 92 members, is to continue with the storytelling journey and to basically rediscover who you are and lead with curiosity, work on your inner narrative, and also understand what kind of things or what ideas would your audience want to hear. So that's what I take away from this conversation. Thank you so much, Vinod, Krishna, for joining us in today's session, and we look forward to meeting you very soon in our next conference. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me here. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and wish you all a great day. Thank you.